Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Hey,
It's
everybody.
as most of you know, this is Pat, owner of Dancing Moon Travel, and here with us is Kevin Gregg from just outside Dublin, Ireland, our marketing director, who's been with Dancing Moon Travel almost since the beginning. Uh, I am so excited about today's event. We have uh, really an amazing event here. If you share this with your friends, folks, if you're on viewing us online, you could hit the share button so people can see where you are. But we have friends from us from iWorld of Travel, Zahava Bitten, and we also have her creative director Shane Newth on who's going to be kind of in the background. But before we bring them on the screen, I'd like to share that short video that they provided to us um, because this is such a great overview of Israel.
Before we get started, let me make a quick announcement about our September drawing that we're going to have. We've been having drawings. We started back in July. We've had winners in July and August, and now we have a new prize to win in September. Every week when we're on live, just join us and you can get your name in the hat to perhaps win our next prize. Our prize this time is going to be this luggage scale. If you've ever had to pay overweight bag fees, you'll love this scale. Overweight bag scales can cost or overweight bag penalties can cost $100 or more. And then as a bonus, we've got this great book. It's 1,200 pages of 1,000 places to see before you die. So those are the prizes, the prize package. At the end of this presentation, I'll give a secret word. You just type it into the comments and you'll be entered in the drawing. And then in September, or at the end of September, we'll have the drawing. Okay.
Thank you, Kevin, for remembering that because I was skipping right over it. Now, can we play that video on?
We will play the video now.
Cool.
Begun by my father, Adi Gelber. His adventurous spirit is alive in every moment of the experience, and the local relationships he nurtured have endured through the decades to give you incomparable access to the wonder that is Israel. From a behind-the-scenes tour of the famous Bahas architecture in Tel Aviv to following in the footsteps of Jesus in Jerusalem, from an emotional climax at the Western Wall to a relaxing swim in the Dead Sea. If you think Israel is stuck in biblical history, we'll show you a vibrant, thriving, and dynamic culture with an ultra-modern vibe, an Israeli Silicon Valley filled with successful startups in science, space, security, and medicine. You'll also walk through the rooms in Caesarea, gaze at the Lake of Galilee, marvel at King Herod's Masada, ascend the Mount of Olives, wander through Nazareth and Bethlehem, and feel the centuries flow by, breathing in the fragrances that fill the air. Our custom trips are drawn from a menu of enticing experiences with something interesting for everyone. This is Michael Gelber, CEO, iWorld of Travel, inviting you to come and visit my birthplace and experience another memories beyond destination. iWorld of Travel. Expect more. Do more.
Wow, that video just literally gives me cold chills. It just is so inspiring. And I want to start by welcoming here finally to our screen Zahava, who is with us here from iWorld of Travel to share everything wonderful about Israel and visiting the Holy Land. Welcome. We're so thankful that you're here with us. And Zahava, if you don't mind, I'd love to just share a moment. If you can just get our listeners acquainted a bit with you. Give us a glimpse into your background and the iWorld of Travel and what's your background in the industry?
Thank you so much, Pat. It's such a pleasure to be with you and your audience today. to present a country that I love very much. I was born in Israel. I grew up in Israel. I was educated in Israel. Years ago, I moved to United States, where I continue working for the same company. When I was in Israel, I used to work as a guide. I've led many groups to Israel, different groups, could be Christian groups, pilgrimage tours, Jewish interest groups, individuals, missions, and so on and so forth. All kind of, I would say, clients who wish to visit Israel with different interests, of course. I've moved to United States, and I continue working for the company I'm working at now, iWorld of Travel. I'm responsible for sales and, of course, for that beautiful region, the Israel and the Middle East. iWorld of Travel is a tour operator, was established in 1967. At the time, we didn't have communications like today, and of course, flights. It was kind of a tour operator that actually led many other tour operators to follow after later on, because it was not as popular in 1967. It was not as easy to get to Israel. But nevertheless, the owner, Adi Gelberg, who have led this company for 4 decades, actually opened the eyes of so many Americans to visit Israel, to experience Israel, to pilgrim to Israel. And actually, many clients sometimes tell us, I remember my grandfather used to visit Israel, and he went with your company. And today I'm the one who wish to take my kids to visit Israel. Michael is our CEO, and we follow the core principles for our company to really create memories beyond moments, to make it a very simple experience, an exciting, unforgettable experience. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Now Israel, Zahava, is a small country as far as size goes.
Yeah, it's a very, very small country. From north to south, the northern part of Israel to the southern part of Israel can be like 7 hours or drive. From west to east can be like 2 hours or so. So it's a very small country.
It sounds like it's about the same size as the state of Florida where I live. I
think that Florida is larger.
Okay.
I think that it's like one of the smallest states in the United States, I'll be honest with you. But it's a very small country, and therefore it's a very convenient country to visit. You don't have to take flights. You drive from one place to another when you tour, and only with an hour or so, you can already visit the next destination or the next site. So it's a very easy place to visit, to travel, since it is really small, but not only small, very exciting, very beautiful. And I'm looking forward to talk a little bit about it.
And the history is so rich. Israel is the birthplace, really, of most of the world's great religions. So it's we're wherever our what faith base we happen to be in, chances are our roots come right there from right there in Israel, which is it's just amazing. Now, who do you find, Zahava, that it's just such an icon of history and so forth, but who do you find is typically drawn to travel to Israel?
Well, I agree with you. Israel is the cradle of the 3 monotheistic religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And therefore, I always say that, with my experience as a guide and as a person who works with so many, people here, there is always, I mean, I've never seen any person who told me, I'm not interested in visiting Israel. 99% of the people will tell me it is, I don't feel comfortable to visit Israel now, but it is in my bucket list. This is my dream. And I always tell to people, don't make it a dream, make it reality, because Israel is a very safe country, right?
Right.
People who would visit Israel would be clients who would want to make it as a pilgrimage. Can be Christian pilgrimage to follow the footsteps of Jesus, or Jewish pilgrimage to really follow the different sites that are connected to the Judaism, of course, the wall and other areas, the creation of the state of Israel, the connection between Israel to the Jewish world. So I always say that, when you visit Israel, it's not like any other place. It's a place where it takes you back to your roots, to your studies, to your education, to your really past, and maybe also present. It is a country that you have a guide, but actually your guide is your Bible. Whether it's the New Testament, the Old Testament, this is your guide, the Bible. But I must say that Israel today is beyond pilgrimage. Israel today is an amazing, vibrant country that attracts people who like adventure, soft adventure, hard adventure, music, art, culinary tours, wine, restaurants, great food. So it's a very vibrant country that can really attract many people. And I would say that each one of us can find something that they would love in Israel, and we make it a great experience.
Yep. It's some places definitely. I have not been fortunate enough to go. Kathy here on is saying that she's been twice, but the first trip was about 50 years ago. She wants to go. She wants to make that third trip yet. She doesn't feel like she's going to have lived fully until she's been back one more time. So that's good. Let's just start with a move on to an overview of the country, Zahava, and some of the major areas. And we try to keep our presentations to 30 to 40 minutes. So guys, you're going to go on a kind of a whirlwind tour, but you are going to love this because we have some of the very best images and visuals that you're ever going to see on a presentation. So Zahava, as you just kind of take us on a tour, hitting the high points, Kevin is going to be in the background there. And he's just going to be showing images because, guys, you're going to be so inspired when you see these. They just really touch your heart and your imagination. So, Zahava, just take us away and start telling us about some of the high points that people want to make sure they don't miss.
Sure. Thank you very much, Pat. I mean, there is so much to see in Israel. There is really so much to see in Israel. Just to let you know, I visit Israel once a year, and as I've been a guide to Israel, every year I take different places that were excavated, were developed, were built, and every year I see something new. Nevertheless, today I would like to take you kind of a traditional, I would say, journey to Israel. When you will visit Israel, probably it will be one of the, kind of areas that you will be visiting. And I hope that you will join me now with this experience. And I hope you will be excited as I am to present our country. So if we can start with the presentation, please.
Start with Tel Aviv there, Kevin. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Tel Aviv is not too far from our airport, Ben Gurion Airport. We have one international airport where you will be landing. And Tel Aviv is about 20 minutes from the airport. So therefore, most of the clients will spend one night or 2 nights in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is a very exciting city. It is by the Mediterranean Sea. They're beautiful. It has beautiful beaches where you can swim, beautiful hotels along the beach, an amazing promenade along the beach. Tel Aviv is our financial center. It is a big metropolis with a lot of art and music and the best restaurants. Tel Aviv is 24 hours a day open with a lot of nightlife. So this is actually a place where you will arrive, you will have the beauty, you will experience the beauty of Tel Aviv, you will overnight, you will visit the next city next to Tel Aviv. Actually, it's part of Tel Aviv called Jaffa. And Jaffa is actually the old city. Out of Jaffa, Tel Aviv was built about 100 years ago. Jaffa was a port city. For many years, pilgrims who came to Israel actually landed in Jaffa and walked or took a carriage or a horse or a donkey all the way up to Jerusalem. Jaffa was mentioned in the Bible already with the story of Jonah. It's a beautiful city today, not only biblical city, not only a city that was mentioned in the New Testament. It has beautiful narrow streets with nice galleries, art, just a place to enjoy yourself. So this is Jaffa. So after 1 or 2 nights in Tel Aviv and Jaffa, we will start driving along the coast of the Mediterranean. And if we can go to the next slide, please. Most probably we'll stop along, you see, this is the coast of the Mediterranean, right? Tel Aviv was here and we started our journey. We would leave Tel Aviv. We will stop in Caesarea. Caesarea was built 2,000 years ago by a very famous king. He was the builder at the time called King Herod. He built it as a major city. It had to be a harbor city and a huge Roman city. And until today, I mean, the excavations that we have done over there, we found a beautiful Roman theater. And it's amazing to see that until today, there are many performances that are held in the theaters of very popular singers from Israel, out of Israel. It is a very active place. So it's not only a place where you go and you visit the ruins. By the way, you could see the aqueduct that carried water from the Caesarea. We will continue up to the north to Haifa. Haifa is a beautiful port city. As you can see, the Mediterranean is in front of you. We are looking over Haifa and the other cities next to Haifa from the Carmel Mountain that was also mentioned in the Bible. We are looking at these beautiful gardens called the Hanging Gardens, and actually the shrine of the Baha'is. It is one of the spiritual places for the Baha'is. Many of you who take cruises to Israel, in most of the cases, you will stop in Ashdod and in Haifa. Haifa has a very nice port. I strongly suggest to call when you stop in Haifa for 1 or 2 days, to make sure to take a private car to take you and show you the interesting places that is for your interest to visit in Israel. I strongly recommend you to do it with Pat, of course. Then we will continue to the north. Once again, we are driving along the Mediterranean. So we visited Caesarea, Haifa, and the next city is the city of Akko or Acre. It's a beautiful city. It's an Arab city with a lot of colors and markets and minarets and mosques. Amazing fish restaurants, because many of the people living there are actually fishermen. The beauty of this city, that the city that you see in front of you was built on top of the Crusaders city. It's a city that was built by the Crusades during the 12th and 13th century. So when you visit the city, you will walk down underneath the city that you see here, where you see the remains of the night halls and the crusaders, very massive halls, like as if you are in Europe with pillars and so on and so forth. So definitely it's a city that I would not miss, a city that I will visit. And from there, we will take ourselves to the area of the Galilee, right? This is the area of the Galilee. It comprises, I would say, it is a totally different area. It's a lush area, very green, kind of, I would say, with rain. But the Galilee is very, very popular with Christianity. Many of the Christianity and Judaism, of course, but many of the tourists who will visit Galilee will visit different parts of the Galilee. And once again, can you go back, please? We'll take them to the place at Nazareth. Here, you see here Nazareth, where Jesus grew up in his childhood. Nazareth, you see the Church of the Annunciation. It is the church where Mary was announced by the angel Gabriel that she is going to give birth to Jesus the Messiah. The beautiful thing about it is that the church was built on top of ancient Nazareth. It was a small village at the time, and while you visit the church, you'll be able to see the ancient Nazareth. You will have to be baptized in the Jordan River, because you know that Jesus was baptized in the Jordan River, as you see over here. Yes.
Yeah, Kevin, I think we have time. Would you be able to plug in that video of Galilee here? I think we're going to have time.
My name is Maureen Lorty and I'm from Canada. The magical thing about Nazareth is the history, that they can keep things from so long ago that's very important to so many religions. And also that there's so many different religions that can live in one place in harmony and just be brought together with faith and love.
Living in the city of Nazareth, for me, it's very special. It's the place, of course, of the visit of the angel Gabriel to Mary of Nazareth, to Miriam, 2,000 years ago. And it's the birth of Christianity.
In Nazareth, you can find really good food.
Come to Nazareth, it's a good place.
Thank you. Thank you. So from Nazareth, we will take ourselves to the area of the Sea of Galilee, called Kinneret in Hebrew, the Sea of Galilee. Oh, sorry. So we will take ourselves to the Golan Heights. The Golan Heights is also a beautiful region in our country. It's over here in the east part, I would say, of the Sea of Galilee. It is bordered with Syria. It is an area that was developed going back also for many years, where many Talmudic Jewish heritage villages were built. One of the cities over there is Katzerin, which is the largest city. Many wineries, very, very well known. This is the old city of Katzerin, and the city of Katzerin is a beautiful city that is very vibrant in these days. Let's go next, please. And here we come down from the Golan Heights to the area of the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is a beautiful area. And if I may say, this is an area where you really can connect to your, I would say, pilgrimage to Israel. We are looking from here, we are looking at the Mount of Beatitudes. This is the mountain where Jesus actually gave the Sermon of the Mountain. And just imagine yourself that this is exactly the same view that Jesus viewed 2,000 years ago. The Galilee Mountains on one hand, the Golan Heights would be in here, and in between the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee was a very important place, especially the area of the north part of the Sea of Galilee. It is an area where Jesus performed miracles. Jesus taught people, and the disciples joined to Jesus from the Sea of Galilee. So therefore, you are actually following the preaching of Jesus in the Sea of Galilee. You will visit Capernaum, which was one of the main cities where Jesus performed miracles. There are today ancient synagogue over there where Jesus taught the people who lived there. You will see Magdala, where Mary from Magdalene came from, a beautiful village. You will find the church or the place of the miracle of the loaves and the bread. So really it is a centerpiece within a pilgrimage to Israel. But one of the things that are really always moved me as a guy taking pilgrims to Israel, to the Sea of Galilee, is when you take a boat ride, or I would say, yeah, a boat ride for 45 minutes of the Sea of Galilee. And it is a great place where everything is beautiful and tranquil, very spiritual, where you can start reading or with the scriptures, or if you are with a church group, you would do, or you would have a service, and it's really something very, very spiritual to experience in the Sea of Galilee.
Wonderful. And then is it like the Dead Sea part of that?
Yeah. So from the Sea of Galilee, we will drive along the Jordan Valley. As you know, the main source of water to the Sea of Galilee is the Jordan River. It starts up the north, enters to the Sea of Galilee, flows out from the Sea of Galilee all the way to the Dead Sea, right? So we will follow the Jordan River along the Jordan border, and we will get to the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is also a very unique place in Earth. It is the lowest point in Earth, about 1,200 feet below the sea level. But the uniqueness of the Sea of Galilee is that it's very, very salty. So therefore, your body is lighter than the heavy water with the salt. And therefore, you only float in the Sea of Galilee. But you could see that part of what we do in the Sea of Galilee is actually we find these great minerals that you put on your body, and many say that it makes you younger. Who knows? As long as you feel younger, right? But it's definitely a great experience that I would not miss. One of the places or one of the sites to visit is Masada. Masada is a hill, is a mountain in the middle of the desert, of the Judean desert. It was King Solomon built a fortress over there with that included bathhouses and the palace and so on and so forth. You will go and you will see the remains of this palace that was built by King Herod, but it became very famous 70 years later on when the temple was destroyed in Jerusalem. A group of people, of Jewish people, came to Masada, hid themselves on Masada. There was kind of, the Romans were behind them. Masada went under siege by the Romans. And then in the end, these 960 people decided to take their life and to really not surrender by the Romans. So it became kind of a symbol, but it's definitely one of the places that you would want to visit while you will be you will arrive to the Dead Sea. You will usually visit Masada, and then you will dip along by the Dead Sea.
Okay, Zahava, there's one place I want to make sure that we cover because it's so central to everything. Jerusalem, for sure. And I'm watching the clock here. Kevin, could you play that short video we have on Jerusalem for our audience?
Everything here is so connected and so together. It's like as if everything combines together into this beautiful harmony. Like Jews and Arabs and tourists from all over the world, like Chinese and Australians, all together, something that you cannot find anywhere else.
When we walk in Jerusalem, we feel the story comes alive. 2,000 years ago, the people there walked there around, Jesus walked there around, and now we walk around here. It's very special.
I feel the sky is a bit closer. I feel that it's not just a story from the history books, but it's real and it's alive, and I'm a part of it.
Wow, thank you. I wanted to make sure that we got Jerusalem into this because I know it's a small country, but so much to cover here. Thank you, Zahava. And we'll continue on talking now about the Jerusalem experience, but I just wanted to make sure we got that in.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. You know, Jerusalem is the city of light. The sages said, or the Talmud says, that there are 10 cabins. Cabins mean an old measurement of beauty descended into the world. 9 took Jerusalem and won the world. You know, I always say that when you drive to Jerusalem, you drive up to Jerusalem. You actually drive up to Jerusalem, and it's a spiritual kind of going up. I don't even use the word driving up. I would use the word going up to Jerusalem. It is definitely a place, a spiritual place where you feel connected to the events that took part over there. By the monotheistic religions, it is the center of the world. You are looking now over the old city of Jerusalem. As you can see, it is with a wall. You are looking from the Mount of Olives, which is opposite of Jerusalem. And you can see the different parts of the old city of Jerusalem. The Christian part, which is, I would say, include the Via Dolorosa, the way that Jesus took, carried the cross to the place of the crucifixion and the resurrection to the church of the Golgotha, where the church of the Holy Sepulchre was built. The Jewish quarter that is facing to the western wall, it was the wall that was the closest wall to the Holy of Holies, where the temples were built in Jerusalem. You know that King David built Jerusalem, and King Solomon built the temple. The temple was destroyed and was rebuilt again later on. And as I've mentioned earlier, the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. 70 AD. And actually the wall, the western wall, was the closest wall to the Holy of Holies at the temple. And therefore, this is the dream of every Jewish person in the world, to be and to experience the wall. Not only Jewish persons, people from all over the world will come and will pray by the wall, will give wishes. And one of the traditional things to do is to actually write a wish, a prayer that you have, and then put it in between the stones that you see, that many of them are dated 2,000 years ago. By the way, today there is a massive excavations around the wall, the Western Wall, from King David City all the way around the world. So you really can experience Jerusalem with its massive archaeological excavation that lead us once again to the times of the Romans, to Jesus' period, to King David City. We actually found the city where King David built it, remains of that period. Isn't it amazing? This is another, this is King David City, as I've mentioned. But once again, there is a museum here. But once again, isn't it incredible to really follow the footsteps of Jesus with the last week of his, in Jerusalem, from Gethsemane, where Jesus was betrayed and was arrested, to the place where the Last Supper took part, to the way that Jesus had to carry the cross, to the before was judged, to the way that Jesus had to carry the cross, to the place where Jesus was crucified and resurrected. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it exciting? Isn't it connected, right? As connected as you can be to your roots as a Christian. The same for the Jewish people, right? Where Jewish people would come, would experience the world, will celebrate every Sabbath. It's one of the amazing things to do, to celebrate the Sabbath. Friday evening by the wall, the Western Wall. It's a place where the temples were built. It is connected us to King David and King Solomon and the temples that were built over there. Isn't it beautiful? Muslims who can come from all over the world, who can experience the beautiful mosque that was built there. And according to the Muslim belief, this is the place where Muhammad went to heaven. Isn't it great to really
It is amazing.
Places? And if I may add, I think that with my experience being a guide in Israel, one of the moments that I always wanted to pause and to tell to, just to pause for 1 minute, is when at the same time you hear the muazzin calling for the Muslims to pray. You hear the bells of the churches in the old city of Jerusalem, and you can see the Jewish people walking down the alleys to pray by the wall. Isn't it beautiful?
It is beautiful, and you have just been so inspiring, and your images here that you provided are just awesome. I just a few practical questions I'd like to raise for people as they're thinking about adding this to their bucket list, Israel and the Holy Land. One of our audience said it was an overwhelming sense of coming home when she visited there. So I think for many people that's the truth. But what about timing of a visit? When is the best time for someone to plan to visit the Holy Land?
In Israel, we have 4 seasons, I would say. Of course, we are now in the end of the summer. The summer is between, I would say, end of May, June, and the end of, I would say, August. It can be very hot and kind of crowded, and the prices would be high because it's one of the peak season. Then we go into October, I would say September, October, and part of November, the fall. The fall is very beautiful as long as you avoid the holidays. Many holidays are celebrated either in October or September, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and so on and so forth. I think that it's important to avoid the holidays. So the fall is very beautiful. The weather is good. It can be sometimes rainy, but it's not too bad. It will be very light. And then the winter is the low season, considered to be the low season. And it can be rainy. It can be cold up in the mountains. But once again, the winter in Israel is very mild. It's a wild winter. So you may have a day of rain and few days of sun. But of course, it's the winter, right? And the spring. The spring is in the end of, I would say, February, March, April. It's beautiful. Everything blooms. It's very green all over. 70% of the area of Israel is desert. Nevertheless, you see beautiful green carpets with flowers all over the desert. It's amazing.
Wonderful. And would you say that 7 to 10 days would be a good amount of time for somebody to plan for a trip?
Yes, I would say that 10 days. 10 days is a good amount of time to visit Israel. Of course, that you can make it in 7 days. But if you would ask me, in order to cover, I would say the main places we have seen today, you would need up to 10 days. 10 to 12 days is usually the amount of time that our clients will request to visit Israel. And if you would request to see Israel in 7 days, we'll be able to do it, right?
Okay, very good. And I have just basically one more question for you, Zahava. I know I'm conscious of our time here, but how has COVID affected Israel and the Holy Land, and are they? What about reopening and so forth? What do you know about that?
Well, in the beginning of COVID, Israel took very hard measures, and it was a big success in terms of the number of, deaths that we had, and the numbers of, people who had got the COVID. And then the country was opened. And when we opened the country, there was a little spike, but at the moment we are controlling this spike. Israel is still close to Americans, I believe, and I hope that it will be open soon. But be assured that you will be very safe in Israel. The hotels are taking we follow very these rules with the hotels and the buses and the sites and so on and so forth. One of the pictures that you see in the COVID is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and how they actually how they sanitize the area almost daily. It's amazing. So they are taking good precautions, and we hope that the country will be open soon. I must say that today is September 1st. The schools were opened in Israel, and most of the kids went back to school in Israel. There are only few areas that consider to be red areas where the kids stayed at home. But other than that, kids went back to schools. Restaurants are open, the beaches are open. So slowly, we will start to open the country, and hopefully it will be open and welcome your clients, Pat, to Israel.
And
There
now,
are still flights to Israel with different airlines.
now is a good time to start booking for next year, because we know that the floodgates are going to open when we get past this and now is a great time to get reservations if Israel
I
and
agree with you. I agree with you. This is the best time to really think about Israel and to go ahead and book Israel. And if I must say, I must also add, if you allow me 1 minute,
Sure.
Israel, I hope that your client will really reach out to you when they think about Israel, because Israel is a type of a place that where you visit that you really have to qualify your client, right?
Yes.
You really have to understand what the client would like to do in Israel. Are they Christians? Do they want pilgrimage? They don't want pilgrimage. Are they interested in Jewish interest? Are they interested in archaeology? So we will be able to design the trip to Israel to make it a great experience. And this is very, very important. But definitely, this is the time where you can think about Israel and start booking your tour for next year. Absolutely.
Very good. Well, Kevin, you mentioned a code word to get people entered in our drawing for our giveaway for September.
Yep. Here's what we're going to give away at the end of September, and all you need to do is enter the code word iWorld Rocks. Just type that into the comments, and you will be entered in our drawing for that luggage scale and the bonus book.
And that will be held at the end of September, folks. So get your name in the hat. We'll be holding that drawing. Kevin usually picks our prizes, and he does such a great job. I just say, Kevin, what would you like to do this month? So he does a great job of finding things that are so practical and useful for travel. So thank you again, Zahava. We so appreciate your time here. This has been just an unusually wonderful. Your visuals are so compelling, so inspiring. So we really thank you for taking your time and being here. We will be looking forward to helping people travel with iWorld and getting people to help you make that pilgrimage and discover all that Israel and the Holy Land has to offer for you. So anyway, I think that's about it. Anybody have any last words you need to say here?
Not me.
Okay. Thank you again,
Thank you.
Sahaba. We love iWorld Travel, and
Thank
we
you
will
very much.
again. And Kevin, if you could hang on after you end the broadcast for just a minute.
I will do that. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Bye
Thanks,
now.
Sahaba.
Very much. Bye.